Hi, I'm Karim Marucchi, CEO of Crowd Favorite, and today I'm joined by my good friend Peter Ladka of Sherpera, and we're going to talk about how this seismic shift in AI-driven transformation, digital strategy, and open source is impacting the travel industry. Peter, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Kareem, for having me today.
So, first of all, for those of the folks who don't know you, tell us a little bit about your background and why we're talking about this subject today.
Sure. I have a very storied history in the digital transformation space. 25 years of experience helping enterprise companies digitally transform. And over the past 3 years, I've really focused in my consultancy in the area of travel and hospitality. It's an industry that is very interesting. It certainly is a wonderful industry that the companies that provide that type of rest and relaxation and energizing of their customers and giving and delivering great guest experiences is fun in and of itself. But they're also an industry that is struggling to keep up with technology, and my vast experience in digital transformation, bringing that to that industry is something that's fun and refreshing and energizing for myself.
For years, like me, you've focused on open source.
Mhm. Sure have.
Um, what's special about open source for the travel industry, in your opinion?
Well, I think one of the overall challenges that the travel industry has is this notion that technology and technology providers, vendors need to have this specialized knowledge about hospitality. And the reality is that in most instances, although there are components of that of technology that are super important to be focused on things that are specific to hospitality, like property management, room reservations, revenue management, things of that nature that are really very specific to the industry. There are other components that are a part of customer engagement and demand generation and marketing that are not, in and of itself, not very specific to the industry. Like, all companies need to do those things well, and open source platforms just provide technology features, capabilities, and strategic approaches that are brought in from a broad spectrum of industries that allow the hospitality industry then to take advantage of what that technology more broadly has to offer, and not just kind of focused on that very narrow view that the hospitality industry is focused on.
Right. So, like us in our business, we're using the concept of open source to let the end customers own their own roadmap
Mhm.
and mitigate the
Yeah.
total cost of ownership. Um, what advantages are there in travel specifically around picking open source over a dedicated platform?
Yeah, I think it's more of the same of what you just said. So much of the challenge that the hospitality industry has is that they're a bit of a hostage to the technology vendor industry in that space. Recently helped a luxury resort move off of an industry-specific content management system where every time they wanted support from the vendor who made that content management system, it would take weeks just to get a response, much less months to get a feature delivered, right? Where now this customer is leveraging an open source content management system. They own that and that code base. And we have a great relationship with a partner in on that particular technology that allows us to do revisions and updates every 2 weeks on a very normal sprint-based schedule. So
Mhm.
this resort is now kind of in this space where they have the freedom to build their own roadmap of changes and features and not be beholden to a vendor who may or may not prioritize the feature that means something very specific to the resort itself, but might not be in the grand scheme of things something that's important to the roadmap of that vendor's broader customer base. So the open source platform provides the opportunity for the customers or the people in travel and hospitality to make decisions specific to their business and give them the freedom and opportunity to mature the technology based on what their business objectives are, not what the vendor's business objectives are.
Got it. And I believe the reason why it's so important in the conversations you and I have had is like with our clients, this conversation matters specifically because once you own your roadmap, you can actually innovate as the market comes up with new ideas and you're not captured by these systems.
Yeah.
So we've now seen this seismic shift in search marketing, in customer engagement, in how customers get to sites and the content that's out there from companies. How's that impacted the travel industry?
Yeah, I think it when we look at the way consumers, it reorganization, we know this, it's not specific to the travel and hospitality space. Like technology, as it advances, actually has two primary customers, right? They have the external customer who is, looking to buy the company's goods or services, and then they have the internal customer, the employee or the associate of the organization that is using that technology to deliver on those promises, right? And so with this rapid acceleration of technology and even in and around AI, the travel and hospitality industry they're in a challenged position, right? And the challenged position is that the customer is finding new ways to find opportunities or find, like look for book travel. They're finding new ways to go out and research. They're finding new ways through AI to find, trips and resorts and hotels and travel companies in non-traditional ways, right? It's very simple to think, we got to be really good at Google search.
Right.
It's not that, or to get really good at those things. But yeah, of course you have to be good at that, but you have to be in a position to be able to start taking advantage of the fact that the customer is going to be looking and finding you in different ways than that now.
Absolutely makes sense. All right. So, in some of the ways that you just described things, I mean, I'm seeing these snippets of content online where people are saying that they're booking travel and booking an entire vacation or a business trip with sort of almost an AI agent or just doing it with AI instead of the classical, I'm going to Google something. Talk to me about that. What does that look like?
Well, I think with the emergence of AI and then the emergence of AI agents, and I think we've heard this across, the leading technology companies. Certainly, we're hearing this from Microsoft and Salesforce and Google that the agent economy is coming, and what that means is that with the assistance of AI agents, people's behavior and the way that they engage with companies is changing like very, very rapidly. And so there is an emergence of companies, there's an emergence of consumers that see the advantage of AI assisted engagement with companies through agents that they create, agents that are being created by other companies. It's certainly very interesting. You may have heard of, Operator, coming out of OpenAI, which is essentially an AI browser agent where you can go in and kind of command that agent disconnected to go and do things for you out on the web on your behalf, and you can come back later and see what the results of those actions are. And so, the agent is not going to respond to your engagement to that person the same way that that person may. So you may even be just dealing with people by proxy through agents in different channels. And so understanding that the ways that people are engaging and the way that people are finding, researching, booking it's changing. And it's not to say that Google search isn't important, or Google advertising or Meta advertising isn't important, but those lines are blurring, and they're blurring rapidly.
Right. We've been told that we're being found by asking AI questions as a company. I'm sure that's what's also happening around the travel industry.
Yeah.
What about AI-driven curation versus traditional search, and specifically how it impacts the customer decision-making in travel?
Well, I think early on in the AI revolution, you know, you heard stories about people, you know, looking at AI and going, oh, like let's have AI plan a trip for me. I'm thinking about going to Hawaii. Maybe AI can put an itinerary together for me, right? In the early stages, people were looking at those things. Well, now people are performing those types of behaviors and looking for AI to plan details about that include things that are reservation based, like, hey, what restaurant should I go to, or what hotels are based off of this itinerary created, what are the appropriate hotels for me to consider. Those types of things are, like, again, remove that disconnection where somebody goes, oh, here's this itinerary I know I'm going to be in Maui, now let me go over to Google and search for what hotel in Maui I should stay at, where AI can now start to provide you a broader visibility into those things, kind of all in one environment. And right, so that disconnection, let's call it that more unified experience that the customer is yearning for, like, hey, I'm going to plan my trip, let me see what all my options are right here, are what Google is thinking about, what many of these search companies are thinking about. How do they integrate into, and of course these companies are trying to figure out how to modify their business models to stay ahead of obsolescence in the traditional search marketplace. How do we take all this incredible information we have and inject it into these AI experiences, so we can both continue to benefit from their asset and all that data, but that they can also provide the customer with what they want, where they want it.
Well, exactly. And as we're seeing such fast innovation and digital transformation behind this AI-driven search, uh, when we're speaking outside of the travel market, we're already seeing that the one-off platforms aren't having a success in integrating quickly enough.
Yeah.
They announce major partnerships or integrations, and then because there's so many other things happening, you're sort of stuck on their roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
So we're seeing in our business that the composable architecture around open source really gives the customers flexibility to adapt and really have composable content management and DXP ideas around that. But how is that unique for travel?
Well, I think it starts with the commonality first, right, Kareem? Let's start talking about what is the asset of any given company when it comes to technology, and it really boils down to two things. It boils down to data and content, right? In the end, the company has these kind of two threads that run through everything that they do from a technology standpoint, and that's data and content. And the reality of, as you're talking about, this kind of rapid proliferation of technology that's happening, where companies are having a harder and harder time becoming all things to all people, where they're focusing in and saying, hey, we're just going to do this thing good, and we're going to create partnerships to deliver on that. The composable open source architecture provides companies the opportunity to plug and play best of breed technology into an area of concern, to either, in the end, aggregate, manipulate, understand, and get insights out of data, or be able to respond with appropriate content, right? Like in the end, we're talking about insights and actions. And these technologies, in the end, in different scenarios, provide companies the opportunity to collect data and gain insights in specific areas. And those things could be like, hey, how are people consuming our content in this channel? And this, there's a piece of technology that grabs it. Or how do we disseminate and use an open source content management system to deploy the content to different channels based off of signals that we're getting from our data? These open source architectures are good at doing that. And when it comes to the hospitality industry, this composable architecture provides that, again, not just the hospitality industry, but I would say as it relates to the hospitality industry, being able to move at the speed of the customer who has these expectations, having an agile, nimble, composable architecture that allows you to have, not wait for one vendor. And this is what I was sitting on an industry specific seminar a few days ago, and I was just watching a leader in the hospitality technology space say things that the market has disproven 10 years ago when it comes to, oh, you really want to be able to have all of your technology sourced from one vendor. They'll be able to provide you all the things you need. And we just know that's not true. It's just not true. And that company could never be the best at all of those things and provide, even in aggregate, on average, a better experience than putting the value, the control into the hands of the company, of the hospitality company, to make decisions about their technology, right? And how they have that control to move forward the way they need.
Right. And
it was innovation.
About,
you said it before. I'm sorry to interrupt, but it was that word innovation is so important in this industry to be able to respond to the demands of the customer and the customer need. You need to be able to innovate. You need to be able to move when the market moves. And open source, composable architecture allows for that.
Right. And as we're talking about composability, we're establishing that you can use open source and have your own roadmap, but also the way we're getting that information has changed with the changes in analytics and now what's happening with first party data and customer intelligence. It's more valuable than ever to be composable. How does first party data and customer intelligence affect the travel industry in how quickly things are moving around these subjects?
Well, there is. I often say to my clients in this space that there's gold. There's gold in your first party data that you're just not leveraging because it is such an experience specific industry, right? If I sold widgets, I'm not saying that it, my first party data doesn't matter, but when you're talking about a customer who is buying an experience in most situations, even if you're talking about somebody who's in business travel, but when you're talking about things like luxury travel and hospitality, people are buying experience, and when they tell you things through their behavior, that you can derive from your first party data, and there has to be an incredible commitment to bringing that data together in a way that provides, we go back to insights and actions, right? Provides the company, the hospitality company, those insights to be able to deliver the experience that the customer is expecting. And that's all the way through the purchase funnel. And I've been consulting with a large luxury touring company. They provide luxury tours. You 10 days you're going to go through the Congo or something like that. The customer journey starts long before, way before the customer ever connects with the company. We all know that in every industry, right? Somebody's going to buy a car, they're going to do a lot of research and get down to their two or three picks before they ever connect with the companies that they're going to make that purchase from. It's the same thing here, but that journey is very detailed all the way through that purchase, from pre-booking investigation to the booking experience and what they're looking for in the booking experience, through the pre-trip preparation, right? So somebody who's going to Italy in December, it's a different trip than somebody who's going to Italy in June. What has to happen, how it has to happen, what places you're going to go to, how that customer gets to self-select what their experience is going to be like, is all part of that journey. And having a composable architecture, having data that supports that underlying first-party data about that customer. Certainly most customers in these types of industries are repeat customers. They're coming back and again and again. Even if you look at some of the large hotel chains, they have their loyalty programs. We all have a propensity to, like, hey, I'm going to go book my hotel at this chain because that's where I have all my points. That's where I tend to like to stay. There's a gold mine in there.
Right. No, exactly. And really, both of our companies with our client base are seeing AI-driven engagement strategies take over from what used to just be thinking around SEO or ad placement.
Yeah.
So in the collaborations that we've talked about doing, we've always said that there's such an importance around the role of personalization and using that customer data in how we're going to take them not just from finding our clients, but to continuously engaging our clients and having that 360 customer experience that is long term. Is besides the old tropes around membership and all those other things, is the travel industry embracing the idea of deep personalization?
They want to. Every client that has engaged me, they've engaged me for that very reason, because they know that being able to create a more personalized customer experience is critical. I'll give you a good example of this. I'm helping a company right now essentially prepare their language model for their call center and customer service center. Because we know that when people call or people chat, all of those things, the way they engage with those things, contribute to their perception of your brand. And so what we've done is a long study around 2 years worth of call data, 2 years worth of search data, 2 years worth of websites, form submissions, bringing all this information together to analyze what people, collate and analyze what people are engaging customer service for. Like, why are they connect? What are the primary reasons why people are engaging? And this is, it's a thoughtful process, because it has to be related to delivering back brand. You can't just, we'll just buy a chatbot and we'll throw it on the website and it'll solve the problem. It doesn't work that way, right? You have to be able to understand what you're providing AI to be able to respond back to the customer in a meaningful way that aligns with your brand and your expectation of what that customer is looking for. And so that, that basic concept around how do we as people bring that information together in a way that we can analyze and then feed back into AI in a way that it will deliver the expected outcome and experience to the customer that we want when it comes to call center, chatbot, all those other channels and touch points that the customer might engage with.
I heard you speaking about years of data, years of information.
Yep.
are we talking about uh, taking years to get through this process? How
No,
complex is this?
yeah,
Can
no,
a
no.
marketing team do this?
Yeah, it's not, well, the great part is that AI can help you with the AI, right? That's the value of when, we can take all of that content and that data, bring it together in a way and leverage AI to help us analyze that data, provide us back some, take that data from, you know, up here to, 20,000, give us a 20,000 foot view to a 10,000 foot view to a 5,000 to a boots on the ground view of it. We're talking about, accelerated timelines and being able to get to market with these types of things. And those things are measured in, weeks and months, not quarters and years, let's say.
Right. It's part of that being able to pivot faster and not getting locked into rigid platforms or
Yep.
overly complex APIs.
Yeah.
A lot of systems these days are calling themselves composable.
Yeah.
We deal with a lot of finance and healthcare and other industries around media technology, and in the business to business and in the business to consumer, um, when they get locked into something that took so long to get up and running, the sunk cost concept becomes so heavy
Yeah.
that it's harder to say, let's look at something else. Let's try something else.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really interesting what you're saying that, let's call it a composable philosophy inside the organization starts with like rapid iteration, test and learn. It's like how, one of the things that, is great about some of the tools that are in the marketplace that are, let's say, are scoped very tightly, like they do a very thing very, very well. I don't have to worry about, like, well, does it do all the things well? And compare that against all. I can plug in and say, hey, does this tool, can I leverage this tool to, I don't know, let's say, enrich data about a customer out on the web, right? Like I get an inquiry from a customer who might have an interest in I don't know, holding a corporate meeting at a one of my resort customers. So like, we're going to hold we want to help, being able to leverage a very fine tool that says, well, hey, let me go out and learn a little bit about this person and, enrich that data so that my salesperson has better information. I don't need some hospitality specific tool. I need an AI tool that's good at, going and scraping LinkedIn for me, right? Like that's what we need in that instance. So let me go find something that can plug into that use case and grab that data, push it into the CRM of choice of the customer and raise that information up through automation to the customer. Hey, this person just submitted the thing. We went and got this information. You should probably do X, right? Very small use cases. And again, one of the challenges of, let's call it digital maturing, which is, we've been called to digitally mature for years now, is
Right.
most people don't think about it in the terms of, let's call it micro use cases. Like in the end, like micro use cases are let's call it, the puzzle pieces of the bigger puzzle. It's like, well, in this use case, we're going to grab this bit of information and do this thing in the system, and we're going to use, an integration tool here and an automation tool here to push this data in this way, so that we can execute on that very small business case. Well, what happens is over the course of a year, you create a lot of these micro experiences or micro use cases, is where you start to see the overarching, progression of composability and technology come to life.
Right. Makes sense.
Small automations change the world, right? It's one little thing at a time. Like instead of a person having to go out and look at the person's LinkedIn, profile, like let's just go get that and stick it in the Salesforce record, right? Or whatever CRM of choice, pipe drive or whatever it might be.
So Peter, in the same spirit of the way we run our businesses with our customers of trying to be truly composable and trying to get the information out there for their clients, I'm going to go through a series of quick questions and let's see where we stand on this and how we're helping our customers, and
Sounds great.
specifically what you're doing with the travel industry.
Sounds great.
Here's the first question. The next evolution of voice first and the first digital experiences around Siri, book me a trip, or what's going on with Alexa these days, how is that impacting travel?
Well, again, it's drawing the customer straight into AI-driven experiences and booking and buying processes, and relying on that engagement between voice. And we can see even with the push in OpenAI to make voice first products, that's just going to grow.
Great. All right, going to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
So Peter, what are the biggest risks of hospitality brands that are ignoring the shift around composability and AI and data first party data information?
Well, I think thinking that hospitality specific technologies are where the answers are generally going to lie is the biggest risk. There is a broad world that has been deeply involved in growing and leveraging first party data to deliver on customer expectations and experience. And the hospitality industry is good at certain things, but there's a big, broad world of technologies out there that you can bring into your technology stack to solve those problems.
Okay. Well, in our business, one thing that's changed dramatically since AI has come into the conversation is our discoveries with our clients, of understanding better their business, because we've been able to bring the AI tools in our preparations for our discoveries to really dig deeper and learn their business even more than we could before, more quickly, to bring better questions to our discoveries. Are the hospitality and travel companies learning from this? Are they understanding that they can move faster now when they're starting these digital projects?
They're starting to. It's a little bit of a challenge, and in much of what I'm helping to bring to this customer base is an exposure to what is even possible through AI. I think the example you gave is a great example of your ability to do preparation for how to engage the customer through AI and bring better discovery questions, let's say, or better discovery information to your engagements. It's not dissimilar from what is AI seeing about what customer engagement is like out in the space, that travel and hospitality space, and how can we better mold our messaging, our engagements, what our product offering is it's kind of unending how AI can help the travel and hospitality space deliver better guest experience.
That sounds amazing. We've been talking about for a long time structured data, and our customers structured data and how to use that. Is AI friendly content changing the way we look at structured data?
It is, and I think the travel and hospitality space has a unique challenge there, or maybe not unique, but one that hasn't been solved quite yet, and that is because the industry is, let's call it a focused group of vendors in that space. Disconnected tech data is the norm in the travel and hospitality space. They've got lots of siloed systems, and bringing that data together in a meaningful way to let AI assist and help them, gather insights or understanding out of that data is really tough right now. And so a lot of conversations I'm having right now are about a first party data first initiatives to bring that structured data together in a way to deliver value through AI.
Got it. So at the end of the day, the intersection between AI, digital transformation, and then the strategic execution for the travel industry, what's the one piece of advice you'd give the marketing department of somebody in that industry if they were feeling a little bit lost and wanted to dive in?
Well, the guest is in broader spaces in the world. The guests are having improved experiences with companies who are thinking data first, guest experience first, personalization first, and at the root of those things, data is always at the root of them. And having a good data strategy to help feed all of these things is an important component. And then again, building on top of that, a composable architecture that allows you to move and change and be agile at the speed of the customer is the key. So having the right tools to fight the battles out in the marketplace aligned, we can't win with, clubs and throwing, using clubs and throwing stones. We have to have mature technology, mature data to be able to deliver on what the customer is expecting based on their expectations of interactions with companies outside of the hospitality space.
You mentioned having mature data. In our business, a lot of customers are coming to us and going, we haven't come up with a strategy for deep data yet. Mm-hmm. Is it too late? And we tell them, it's never too late to start, mm-hmm. but there's also hidden data in your organization that you didn't realize you were having. And sometimes it's just a matter of bringing it to the table. Yeah. For those in the travel industry who are so used to the way things have been moving for the last 30 years in the internet, is it too late?
No, I think,
sorry.
No, it's okay. I think no, the answer is, the reality is most of them have the valuable data. It's not an issue of them collecting that data. It's an issue of them aggregating that data in a meaningful way that allows them to see the customer in a more holistic way. I've gave an example to another one of my clients where I said, if I were to pick a person out of your reservation system, like just pluck that person out of the reservation system, could you tell me how many dining reservations they've had here, how many golf, tee times that they've had, how many spa visits they've had, have they ever had any weddings at the resorts, or have they ever had, corporate meetings at the resorts? Can you see that information about that customer? And the answer is no. They have all that information in all these disparate systems, but they can't see that customer in a more holistic way, and bringing that data together to see that customer. Like, how do we personalize if we don't have that data together in a way that we know who the person is? Like, the root of the word personalization is person. We got to see the person. And that means in every area that they're touched by the company, whether it be a resort, a hotel, a touring company, or something, company outside of the travel industry.
So is it too late, if they don't have all this data already in their content management system, for them to start? Where is this data?
Yeah, it's not too late. And in fact, most companies have all of the data. They have it. It's just in disparate silos. It's sometimes in a reservation, in a property management system, or a golf tee time system, or a dining reservation system. And the biggest challenge is that data is all out there, but it's not brought together in a way that we can engage the customer in a personal way. When we talk about the word personalization, at the center of that word is the word person. That means we need to bring that data together so when we look at that person, we can see all of the ways they've engaged with the company, not just in the silo of any one of those individual pieces of technology. Never too late.
Awesome. Well, Peter, thank you for this conversation today. It was great. I learned a lot about what's going on in the travel industry and the opportunities there. I think the message I heard overall is it's not too late, but innovation is going every single day. So if you don't jump in now, you're just going to fall a little bit further behind.
Exactly. Exactly. And then, Karim, I appreciate very much the invitation today. It was, as always, a wonderful conversation. I learned some stuff myself as well, and I look forward to the next time we get to talk.